Hi everyone, I'm Victoria and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you this journal page that I've made for PaperArtsy. All the details are over on the PaperArtsy blog if you want to see a step-by-step breakdown of how I made it and product descriptions and all that stuff. So do head over to the PaperArtsy blog to have a look. But I thought that it would be useful to do a quick video so that you could see me using some of those products in real time. So to start, I started off by cutting out 12 smaller squares and one larger square. And then I just took a minute to think about some of the different mediums that I might want to combine with and just jotted down some notes on the back of those cards. So the first one that I did was the tissue paper. So I laid down just a thin layer of the Mattints in shark on the card first, placed the tissue paper on top, and then put another dot of the Mattints in shark over the top just to seal that down. And then here I'm just removing that small square of tissue from the larger sheet with the brush. And I did notice that it hadn't quite stuck on some of the edges, so here I'm just applying a little bit more to just make sure that that's adhered nice and strongly. And I think the really good thing about these Mattints is that you can actually layer the colours. So I'm just adding another little bit of tissue paper here, and then in a minute I go in with a little bit more of the Mattints colour in shark, just to give a darker blue. The colours look really dark in the bottles, but actually when you apply them they give a really nice translucent colour, so it is a little bit lighter than it looks in the bottle. So I really love, it's like Mattints were made to be used with the tissue paper. I really love how that ended up. And next I wanted to see what they did when combined with the infusions. I love the infusions. I'm a watercolour girl at heart, so these like absolutely are just a medium that I love. So I started off by sprinkling some of the infusions out, and then like you could see I sprayed that with a blast of water, and then once dry went over that then to use the Mattints as a glazing coat. And this colour here, this lovely orange, is squeezed. This is one of the newest colours in the range. And because it's re-wetting those infusions, you do have to be careful with the application to make sure that you don't end up with stripes from the brush. So a gentle hand is really important for that process. So next up, again, I'm starting off with a base layer of the Mattints in squeezed and laying that down onto the card. And I wanted to try using some different mediums over the top of the Mattints. So that's why I'm starting with this base layer first, and then I'm going to add on top some different mediums. So for this particular swatch, I decided to test it out with an ink spray. So I'm using a Distress Oxide spray for this. And literally just spritz it on, get a lovely spray pattern, and then put that to one side to dry. Next up, I've actually put a stamped floral on the base of the card first, and now I'm applying two different colours of Mattints, the pink and squeezed, and then I'm just going to use the brush to blend those colours together on the background. And for this one, once that colour's down and dry, I'm going to see how coloured pencils work on top of that just by colouring the image. So I'm just using some Faber-Castell polychromos here to colour that image, and I was really pleasantly surprised at how smoothly those coloured pencils lay down on top of the Mattints. I don't know what magic PaperArtsy have used in the formulation, but it really does give a really nice tooth to the surface of your paper, and that just made the colour just laid down so smoothly. It was really nice to work with. So definitely these products for mixed media are just going to be a bit of a game changer, I think. I can't wait to use them in more projects going forwards. So I can't deny it, I am a watercolour girl. Watercolours were where it all started out for me. I started my whole creative journey with a set of watercolours and determined to learn how to use them. So of course I was going to see how watercolours play with these matte tints, and oh my word, it's good. So I think the really nice thing about these Mattints is that they can give you a really nice soft coloured background for you to work on top of. So that's what I do here. So again, I'm going back to that really beautiful blue, the shark, and I'm laying that down as a really thin base coat, really a soft, subtle effect on top of that stamped image. And then once that's dry, I'm going to come back in and then start colouring those petals of the flowers with my watercolours. And this again, it's just going to be such a great addition to the mixed media toolkit that I use all the time. You know, you can see here that you've got that lovely background colour. You don't have to fuss too much. I'd literally just kind of slap that on with the brush to give some really nice colour and texture in the background. And then once it's dry, I can come back and pick up whatever colours I want. The colours actually blend in really nicely, and you will see at the end they dry really nicely as well. So whilst I was applying the colour, I did mix the colours a little bit on the petals as well, and yeah, it just worked really, really well. So next up on the experimentation list was grunge paste. So you can see here that I scraped out a small amount of grunge paste and then mixed in some of the Mattints in Shark just to give it a very subtle blue tinge to the paste. The more that you add, the bluer the paste will go, but like I say, it is a really subtle effect. And actually, my grunge paste I've had for a while, so it was quite dry in the tub, and you can see here that as I'm mixing it in, it's reconstituting it, and actually it goes back to how it was when I first bought it. So that actually made it really nice to apply through the stencil. And then it's just a case of applying that with the palette knife through the stencil. And I'm using this K. Carly stencil, which gives a really nice leafy pattern. And just like that, I'm on to the final square. So I wanted to have one of the squares that was a bit bigger than the others on the journal page, just to give a real focal point. And this is the piece that I'm making now. So I start off by stamping the bluebells from the K. Carly stamp set, EKC 54. And I'm just making sure that that image transfers really nicely. And once those images are stamped, I'm then going to use the Mattints as a colouring medium, and here you can see that I'm also going to try mixing it with some PaperArtsy fresco finish acrylics, and the colour that I'm mixing the shark with there is eggshell. And that just gives a slightly more opaque colour, and it just softens out that blue, just to give a bit of variety to the colour on those bluebells in the end. And again, the colour lays down really nicely. I think because the Mattints are so transparent, it works really well with stamped images, because you can still really clearly see the ink underneath. You know, it doesn't cover it up. So it just gives you another option, I think, when you're creating. So to finish up the bluebells, I'm going in with some coloured pencil in green, and I'm just applying that quickly to the stems and leaves. You know, I'm not some amazing colourist. I don't like to spend too long. I have a bit more of a slapdash approach. But, you know, whatever floats your boat, you do what you like to do. You know, you don't have to use coloured pencil. You could use any of your colouring mediums. You know, in the Mattints range, there's the new fern colour, and that would look really nice. So, you know, try different things, but this was just kind of the combination that I opted for on this final piece. And I wanted to create a really soft colour in the background and use up a bit more of the colour that was left on my mat. So you can see here that I'm just really randomly going into those white spaces in between the flowers and applying a bit of colour. I'm not trying to do this too accurately, I'm just doing it as a really rough wash, and it's a very subtle colour, but it does just kind of detract from that bright white background, which I really like. So with all the little squares full of imagery and colour, it's now time to put the finishing touches to the project, ready for assembling on the journal page. So here you can see that one of the things that I did was distress the edges of some of the cards, and I just used a little the distress edge tool by Tim Holtz, but equally you could just use carefully the side of a pair of scissors to do this, works just as well. And then once that was all a bit roughed up, I just took the blending brush that you can see in the background and applied a little bit of brown ink to the edges, just to kind of give it that more vintagey feel, a bit like these samples have been hanging around for ages. And then before applying them to the page, I decided that I wanted a little bit of contrast on the journal page between those different colour swatches, and this was just to give it a bit of harmony between all those different squares when you're looking at them on the page. So I decided to add some black backing paper, and you can see here that I've just put double-sided tape on the back of the swatches, and then I'm putting them on to some black paper, and then I trim that with my paper trimmer. I did this by eye. I didn't measure it out because I only wanted a really thin border. However, in hindsight, it probably would have been better to measure them a little bit more accurately, as I did when I was cutting the squares. You know, if I'm being really picky, when you look at the squares on the finished page at the end, you can see that they're not all exactly the same. So I suppose it depends what kind of perfectionist you are, but I'm still happy with the finished result. So either which way, I think, you know, definitely works. It just depends how much of a perfect finish you want. So these are all the images finished up. You can see that I did them in pairs, so I did 2 of each for the different techniques, and that was just to add a bit of variety around the border. I actually had more ideas for using different products that I didn't quite get round to, but here they are all stuck on the journal page. I think it's a really interesting visual effect, and I really love how you know, it's really helped me to learn the product and think about how I might use it in the future. So thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up. It helps me to grow the channel, and until next time, wishing you a happy creative week. Bye.